Stunt Paradise is exactly what you'd get if you decided to take the Trials games and turned it into a low poly car-based stunt game, where it's as if you're going back to movies from the 70s and 80s like Smokey and the Bandit, and maybe some of the kind of comedic action films like buddy cop dramas and all of that kind of stuff, where everything is ridiculous and over the top, as it starts to move into the Fast and Furious era of just stunts being so ridiculously unbelievable, but you're just going to sit and watch it and be like, okay, popcorn time, disengage brain and enjoy yourself. Stunt Paradise is very easy to pick up across its 50 levels and 20 unlockable cars. The idea is that you just floor the accelerator for probably much the first 15 levels of this game, and very rarely you'll touch the brake, but what you will need to do is use the left analog stick to flip your car around to reorientate yourself, because if you land on the roof, your car explodes, and if you land in the water or perhaps into various different mechanical cogs and spikes, again, game over for you. Each of these levels are designed to feel very cinematic, and whilst some of the levels will have like bits of scaletric tracks coming together in front of you, and it's all kind of constructing in front of your eyes, and often you might need to hit some switches to make that happen. What will often be the case is you'll be on rickety bridges where the bridge is collapsing underneath your wheels, so you still need to floor it and keep going. Or it might be that you're on cargo ships and water planes and other ships are crossing in and around you to make it feel very cinematic. Or a plane might crash into a bridge or through a tunnel and explode, and you'll need to kind of fly out the other side and spin around, do triple backflips and then land on the right part of the runway. And it looks visually impressive and it feels like you're really doing some crazy stunts, but it's so approachable and easy and malleable and responsive with its controls, you don't ever feel like something's too much of a burden or being too overwhelmed. Instead, you're laughing your head off with a big grin on because of the ridiculous of all of the different scenarios that you're finding yourself in. I mean, like in one level, you're busy racing a steam train, which actually pops up in a lot of levels, but some of it might be crossing back and forth, some of it you might land on the top of it, and then another one you might be having a nitro blasting race to try and beat it across a bridge, because otherwise you won't be able to escape. There's loads and loads of variety here across the different themes. There's a good volcano one. There's several where you're going across like ancient Egypt. There's a few that's in the desert where you're trying to navigate through various traffic. There's some ice bits. It's all over the shop. But what is consistent is it feels cinematic. You feel like you're in control, and it's incredibly malleable and easy to play. The flip side of that is that it's also been made easy to play because the collision detection for this game is extremely generous in your favour. So as you're going around, there's optional star to collect in each of the 50 levels. You don't really need to hit it, you just need to be kind of around it and it will work. And quite often there's lots of red buttons that you'll need to hit, either while doing a loop-the-loop or flying off a ledge and trying to hit it on the way down, or landing on bounce pads and all of that kind of stuff. It's really generous, so if you're generally in the vicinity, it will pretend you've hit it, or it will collect the coin for extra money to unlock those 20 cars. It's just very, very generous and simple, but it is then very precise when you're going against hitting things that's going to kill you, like those spinning spike wheels and things like that. So yeah, it's approachable, and from that perspective, this feels like Trials for the kids, but in a nice and positive way, not as in we've put together a kids game as an excuse for actually we've half-assed it. This feels approachable for all of the family and feels like low poly Stuntman Trials edition, and what's not to love about that? The last thing I want to talk about this game is its slowly increasing difficulty level, and it's one of those things that you don't notice initially, because the first 10 levels or so you're just flooring it to the like on the accelerator, and you can just tilt your car through everything and get to the end and just be like, wow, it all just flows and it feels very easy. But slowly over time, you start to have to pause for jumps or time jumps against various different hazards like those spinning cogs or a shark flying out of the water. All kinds of things need to align, like scaletric tracks rotating around so that you can get from A to B without falling off and into the river. And it's subtle, but it gets there. And so the last, I would say, 15 to 20% of this game then becomes a real challenge of skill, but it builds you up subtly, getting you there. And so whilst this game is totally approachable, and I'd recommend this one for all the family, those last couple of levels are going to be incredibly satisfying to get right, because you'd have been trained for all of the skills throughout Stunt Paradise along the way, and it's really well done for a difficulty curve for an accessible for all game. Stunt Paradise is out on Steam. I picked this up on a 35% discount, but I actually have to say that I would recommend this at full price, because it was still only just like £6.50, and for the hours of fun that I got out of this and the cinematic nature of this game, yeah, it's worth the price of admission. So that's Stunt Paradise, out now. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.